Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. And patch 10.2 brings with it a ton of updates, from a brand new tier to a new zone, as well as a variety of new class changes, from smaller talent adjustments to entire spec reworks. And on top of that, every single class and spec is getting brand new tier set bonuses. Besides obtaining a brand new visual appearance that's fit with patch 10.2, like with the raid of Aberrus, the Guardians of the Dream tier sets are going to shape our playstyles in a variety of different ways. Some bonuses will be more passive while others are more active, but either way, they utilize specific aspects of our specs and in some cases even leverage the use of underused talented options, which provides additional gameplay within PvE or PvP context. When it comes to picking your next main for the patch 10.2, your tier set is going to play a big part in how your class is going to play as well as perform. So in this video, I wanted to take a close look at every single class tier set bonus, showing off their visuals as well as every specific class bonus that's available to test for the patch 10.2. It's worth noting that everything shown here is still in development and will likely see additional changes before 10.2 is officially released, but it's a good idea to start giving player feedback early in order to help shape our favorite playstyle's future within 10.2. But right before we dive into class tier sets, most of you guys watching these videos are still not subscribed. However, the more of you remind, the more of you do, so let's keep it going. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell if you're watching these videos anyway. Especially if you want to get more regular content regarding Dragonflight 10.2 or any of the future updates going forward. Starting off, we have the class of Death Knight, which is getting what might be one of the best looking tier sets out of the lineup. The Blood DK tier set bonus provides a mix of offensive and defensive power. Consuming a Bone Shield charge has a chance to cause your next Hard Strike to apply Ashen Decay, which reduces the target's damage dealt to you by 10% while making them 20% more vulnerable to your damage. Using Soul Reaper or Abomination Limb talents spreads Ashen Decay against all enemy targets. Hard Strike and Blood Boil damage helps extend the buff's duration by an additional second. The Frost Death Knight tier set plays heavily into the talent of Chill Streak, which causes a snowball to bounce between enemy targets, dealing additional cleave damage. The tier set allows Chill Streak to bounce between the target and the Death Knight, which gives it some single target value, while increasing the Death Knight's damage done, stacking up to 5 times. The 4 set increases the number of bounces, and each bounce either grants you a rune, or reduces the cooldown of Chill Streak by 5 seconds, or reduces the cooldown of Empowerment Rune Weapon by 10 seconds. A bonus which easily synergizes with the bursty nature of the Frosty Death Knight, with the additional resources providing some excellent and satisfying gameplay inside of your Pillar of Frost windows. Next, Unholy Death Knights are going through quite a few changes for the patch 10.2, mostly focusing on increasing their sustained damage while reducing their reliance on the perfect big button cooldowns, which takes away some of the pressure from creating the perfect opener and instead rewards good use of basic rotational abilities. We see a variety of buffs from the base increases to the ghoul damage, Soul Reaper damage, Death Coil, Skirt Strike, and Festering Strike damage, as well as a buff to the undeads summoned through Apocalypse specifically. The newest Unholy tier set summons an additional Mages of the Dead through Apocalypse directly. The Magi will cleave all targets with a volley of Shadow Bolts, providing additional AoE output. And each rune spend increases the duration of the active Magi, and the Magi will amplify your damage, increasing it by 5%. Based on the early impressions, it looks like the class of Death Knight is set up pretty well with a solid array of tier sets. While the class of Demon Hunter is nowhere near finished, with major reworks still on the horizon for the PTR, we do have the tier set bonuses to look into. The Havoc tier set heavily plays off of the Throw Glaive usage. Blade Dance has a 50% chance to launch throw glaives at enemies for 35% of its damage. Each glaive thrown reduces the remaining cooldown of the hunt and causes hunt's damage over time to last for additional seconds. A simple enough bonus which plays with your cooldowns and provides you with additional cleave style damage. Like Havoc, Vengeance tier set also leverages a specific ability, this time it's Sigil of Flame. Attacking targets burned by Sigil of Flame increases your damage and stamina, increasing it by up to 10%. Periodic damage of Flame also has a chance to flare up, shattering souls and dealing additional fire damage. and spending Fury causes the Sigil's cooldown to be reduced by an additional second. The defensive portion of this buff seems easy enough to maintain nearly constantly, and the tier set plays nicely with most of the Vengeance talent tree options. Next we have the class of Druid, which has seen a handful of changes heading into the next tier, though the bulk of their updates will be coming from the newest tier set bonus. Balanced Druid tier set lets them start their Eclipse windows more strongly. Entering combat or Eclipse windows empowers you next to Wraths or Starfires, increasing their damage by 60%. Star Surge and Starfall increases current Eclipse's Arcane and Nature bonus by 3%, stacking up to 15 times. The Feral Druid tier set empowers Feral Frenzy, which helps increase your damage by 20% for a short moment. Frenzy's cooldown has also been reduced down by 15 seconds. Frenzy also causes you to burn your targets for additional 10% more damage, which increases your short-term burst windows every 30 seconds. The Guardian Druid tier set heavily utilizes the talent of Rage of the Sleeper. During Rage, 20% of all damage and healing, as well as 100% of the armor gained during the cooldown, grants you Dream Thorns at the end of its duration, which absorbs 10% of all damage dealt while Thorns are active and causes 10% of that damage absorbed to be reflected back at the attacker. The Resto tier set utilizes the newly added talent of Grove Guardians, where your tree friends nourishes will heal 2 additional allies with a reduced effectiveness. Consuming Clear Casting causes regrowth to cast Nourish at a nearby injured ally, preferring allies with active healing over time effects to maximize Nourish value. Up next we have the Draconic Evoker, starting with Devastation. Devastation tier set empowers your burst window of Dragon Rage, slowly increasing its damage dealt by 5%, stacking up to 20%. This damage window persists after Dragon Rage has faded and grants additional Essence Burst procs during Dragon Rage downtime. Like all healers, Preservation Spec is set to go through a variety of role-specific changes for the patch 10.2, which adjust the power balance of single target healing, AoE healing, and major healing cooldowns. Their tier set causes Living Flames to heal or damage 5 targets whenever you use an empowerment spell. Living Flames have a chance to apply Echo at 70% effectiveness on allies. This Echo can proc from Living Flame damage or healing bonus procs. The Augmentation tier set leverages their player buff mechanics, enhancing every third Prescience, giving it a longer duration. Casting Prescience enhances Eruption, causes smaller fissures for each Prescience that you have active, dealing additional damage and helping extend Ebb and Might uptime. Next we have the class of Hunter, starting with Beast Mastery. All Hunter specs are set to get a few new additions for the patch 10.2, with Beast Mastery talents receiving a bit of a facelift. Aspect of the Wild is replaced with Savagery, which enhances Kill Command and Barb Shot, while Master Handler adds additional inter-ability interactions. Call of the Wild becomes a 2-minute cooldown, which reduces the downtime of Kill Command and Barb Shots on top of summoning an army of wild beasts. Call can also increase your pet's damage through frequent kill commands or cause all beasts to cleave every enemy near your target. Beast Mastery tier set adds additional Dire Beast interactions, where Bestial Wrath calls on more companions, and Dire Beasts can now obey your kill commands and even gain Beast Cleave benefits. Marksmanship saw a few small talent changes, where Windrunner's Guidance now reduces the cooldown of Rapid Fire and increases the duration of your next true shot by 10 seconds maximum. Marksman tier set now causes volleys to rain down whenever you land Rapid Fire on your target. Legacy of the Windrunner has a 15% chance to fire wind arrows at any target damaged by volley, creating an ability feedback loop which increases your cleave and burst capabilities. Survival's current tier set of Aberrus has become a passive new bonus, causing bombs to deal additional damage in single target encounters. Their newest tier set plays heavily into the Fury of the Eagle and the crit damage bonuses. Using Fury of the Eagle causes you and your pet to gain additional crit chance and crit damage for 12 seconds. Fury also tosses a free Wildfire Bomb at your current target, generating an additional bomb charge and increases bomb damage against your primary target by 40% for 12 seconds, which allows for bomb-focused builds to shine, delivering high single target burst damage along with some spread cleave capabilities. Next, we have the class of Mage, which is getting mostly passive tier set bonuses, which may come off somewhat boring, but will likely be effective in the long term. Arcane tier set revolves around missiles and clear casting. Consuming clear casting grants you additional spell damage for 15 seconds. Consuming clear casting procs 6 times causes your next arcane missiles to become empowered, dealing significantly more damage while cleaving 4 additional nearby targets. The Fire Mage tier set causes the mage to build up Searing Rage every time their Pyroblast or Flame Strike critically strikes. Searing Rage increases your crit damage by 3%, stacking up to a maximum of 15%. Activating Combustion causes crit strike damage bonus to be increased by 100%, up to 30% additional crit damage during the ability cooldown. Then we have the Frost Mage tier set, which increases the damage of Glacial Spike and causes it to shatter onto nearby targets when active. Glacial Spike also has a chance to proc Brain Freeze with a 40% proc chance. Up next, we have the Monk tier sets, starting with an exciting addition for the Brewmaster. The Brew tier increases the damage of Breath of Fire by 20% as Shadow Flame damage, and causes you to heal for half of all fire damage as a bonus. Attacks against targets with Breath of Fire have a chance to deal 10% more damage as Shadow Flame damage. Using Celestial Brew grants you a Stagger Absorption, where Stagger is absorbed instead of inflicting it to the Monk, depending on your Shadow Flame damage recently dealt. I have to say that overall I'm impressed with this tier set bonus when it comes to tanks, as it plays nicely with the primary defensive stagger mechanic. Even the Mistweaver tier set sounds surprisingly powerful. Renew and Mist application and jumps apply Chi Harmony to the target, increasing healing taken from you by 50% for a short moment. 15% of all healing you do to the target with Chi Harmony is then stored and dispersed evenly on allies with the Renew and Mist when Chi Harmony fades or refreshes, which allows for crazy good healing in small and large group situations. The Windwalker tier set has a weird obsession with toes. Melee attacks have a chance to make your next spin and crane kick free. Free spinning crane kicks grant you the buff of Ebon Toes, increasing next Blackout Kick. Blackout Kicks empowered by Ebon Toes reduce the cooldown of Fist of Fury, Rising Sun Kick, Strike of the Windlord, and Whirling Dragon Punch by 1 additional second. Jokes aside, always fan of seeing classes gain additional cooldown reduction bonuses. Next we have Paladin tier set bonuses, starting with Holy. Holy tier set leverages the Glimmer mechanic. When a glimmer dissipates or is refreshed, it creates a Holy Reverberation, which does healing or damage over time depending on the target, and up to 3 reverberations may overlap at a time. Also, the cooldown of Daybreak is reduced by 15 seconds, which plays well with the Glimmer removals and lines up better when used with Divine Toll. Next we have the Protection tier set, which seems a little long and wordy. Judgments grant you a stack of Sanctification, increasing armor by up to 10% with maximum stacks. When you reach 10 stacks, your next Consecration is empowered, increasing its damage and healing by 200% and its radius by 30%. And after Consecration ends, all stacks of Sanctification are then removed. And while within your empowered Consecration, your abilities have a chance to deal 20% more damage or healing. The Retribution Paladin tier set leverages the talent of Expurgation. Expurgation deals additional damage and has a longer duration. Casting Judgment or Divine Toll against the burning target causes a Wrathful Sanction, dealing holy damage to them and nearby enemies. When Wrathful Sanction procs, it grants you Echo of Wrath. Your next Tempest Verdict or Divine Storm will echo a second time at 50% effectiveness without consuming your current judgment. Overall, I hope to see more time spent on the Holy and the Protection tier set, but the Retribution bonus looks like a solid addition. The next class is the Priest, starting with Discipline. Like all healing specs, Disc has got a lot of new talents and gameplay options arriving for 10.2, but the current tier set is more focused on damage and atonement healing. Smite and Penance will deal additional damage, and Smite helps extend the duration of active atonements. Smite has a 100% chance to cast an additional time during the cooldown of Shadow Covenant, dealing additional shadow damage. And while this sounds initially simple, the recent class changes make this quite a powerful tier set from the get-go. The Holy Priest tier set applies Renew on any target that is healed with Holy Word Serenity or Sanctified. Renews healing over time has a chance to cause your next Sanctify or Serenity to not consume a charge when cast, and reduce its mana expenses. The Shadow Priest tier set feeds off of your personal punishment using the ability of Shadow Ward Death. Shadow Ward Death triggers more often, inflicting more damage to the casting priest. Each time Shadow Ward Death deals damage to the priest, you gain stacks of Death's Torment, which increases the initial damage of your next Shadow Ward Pain by 250% or the damage of your next Shadow Crash by 50%, stacking. Definitely one of the more unique tier set bonuses where you sacrifice your own health bar to gain additional power, but I do hope both Shadow and Holy get a second look going forward. Next we have my current main, the class of Rogue, starting with Assassination. Spending 10 energy grants you Nature Blight, increasing attack speed and nature damage over 6 seconds, and multiple instances of Nature's Blight may overlap by up to 15% maximum. Next, using Envenom while the Envenom buff is active causes nature damage to nearby enemies, increasing your cleave capabilities. The Outlaw Rogue tier set increases your chance of striking twice with your Sinister Strikes. Also, refreshing a random roll the bones buff you currently have whenever you reroll your buffs results in more buffs and better uptime, which can grant you more 2 buff, 3 buff, and even 5 buff combinations. The Subtlety tier set has a bit of randomness involved. Using finisher moves like Eviscerate, Rupture, and Black Powder has a chance to summon a Shadow Clone that will echo that ability. Shadow Clones can deal 10% more damage with a Force set and will grant you additional combo points whenever summoned. Next we have the class of Shaman, which has definitely gained one of the best visually looking tier sets. Starting with Elemental. Casting Primordial Wave also casts Elemental Blast at the target for 100% effectiveness and grants you all 3 buffs provided by Elemental Blast for 15 seconds. For the next 10 seconds, consuming Lava Surge causes your next Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning to be instant cast and deal 25% additional damage, which drastically increases the mobility of Elemental Shaman. Enhancement Shaman tier set also leverages the use of Primordial Wave. Casting Primordial summons a Lightning Feral Spirit, which increases your nature damage dealt by 20%. Summoning Feral Spirits reduces the cooldown of Primordial by 7 additional seconds. The Restoration tier set mostly upgrades the usefulness of Riptide. Casting Chain Heal, Healing Surge, or Healing Wave marks the target with Tidal Reservoir, causing them to receive 20% of all Riptide healing for 10 seconds. If Riptide is active on the reservoir target, it has a chance to create a new Riptide on a nearby ally. Additionally, Riptide healing is increased by 15%. Next, we have new tier sets coming to the class of Warlock, starting with Demonology. Demo in particular is going through a few changes that are very similar to the Holy Death Knights, reducing the power of their major cooldowns while increasing the effectiveness of base combat abilities. The new tier set causes Demon Bolts to apply Doom Brand on the target that explodes after 20 seconds. Dealing damage with Hand of Gul'dan and Demon Bolt reduces the time until that explosion. Doom Brand Explosion has a chance to summon a Doom Fiend, which blasts your target with shadow damage over 15 seconds. Additionally, the damage of Hand of Gul'dan is increased by 15%. The Affliction Warlock tier set plays around the talent of Soul Rot. Soul Rot deals additional damage and has a slightly longer duration. Soul Rot causes your next 3 Malefic Ruptures to be 50% more effective and extends the duration of Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, Unstable Affliction, Vile Taint, Hunt, and Phantom Singularity by a few extra seconds. The Destruction tier set sounds very much like an artifact weapon passive bonus that we had back in Legion. Immolate damage is increased by 20%. Immolate periodic damage has a chance to grant you a charge of Dimensional Rift, and sometimes opening rifts will open a Flame Rift, which deals more fire damage that cleaves to additional enemy targets. And lastly, we have the new tier set bonuses for the class of Warrior, starting with the Spec of Arms. Arms Warriors are becoming a dot class come patch 10.2, where Rand deals 30% more damage and has a chance to proc Sudden Death. Sudden Death makes your next Execute slam the ground, causing a Thunderclap for 100% effectiveness. Execute procs also bleed your target for 50% of the executed damage. The Fury tier set leverages Odin Fury talent, increasing its damage by 50%. Odin's Fury increases your next 3 Bloodthirst, causing them to deal 150% more damage and have a 100% crit chance against your primary target. Bloodthirst crits help reduce the cooldown of Odin's Fury by 2.5 seconds. The Protection Warrior tier set leverages bleeds to increase survivability. Spending Rage has a chance to cause your next Shield Slam to consume your bleed effects, instantly dealing the remaining damage and reducing the target's damage to you by 10% for a few seconds. Each bleed consumed increases the defensive value by 2% per bleeding effect. When Shield Slam consumes bleeds, it resets the cooldown of Thunderclap and reduces the cooldown of Thunderous Roar by an additional second. I want to thank all of you so much for watching this video and hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As per usual, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description of every single video and live stream, we have a link to our Discord community channel. Probably the best place to reach out to me directly in case you want to let me know what you thought about this video or hang out with the rest of the community to discuss some of the upcoming changes. Join our Discord to become part of the community. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.